we are already in the second game of the grand finals of Zivieras and Longest against Naheulbook and AJIV. Of course, we are already in the third game, so I already misspoke. So I already casted 2 games, but I needed a break. So now we are back. And we have... The score is 1-1, so it's still open for anybody. This map was picked by AJIV and Naheulbook, so they played Orinoco, I think in every single set they played. And they always went for Aztec, French, and it's pretty good. Aztec is really strong in deathmatch. In team games especially, you do have a lot of resources or a great boom. Cheap units or cheap... Like the only real downside of Aztec is that your units are shit and you don't have any cannons. And with a mate it's not as bad, so your mate can make cannons if you need them. And you can feed your mate if you need to. So yeah, so usually your Orinoco, what is this map about? You have this one river, the one river of death, where they will probably fight. Where they will probably fight for, I don't know, a long time. Until someone dies of boredom, or hopefully not, someone just wins it. Aztecs is a civilization where you can do the big button and you can run your Jaguar Pro Knights on the other side. AJIV does this and he usually doesn't suicide them, so that's actually pretty smart. So to stealth them, and then when the fight starts you will just use them to do something and just distract the enemy. That's usually a good decision, and one which will at least distract him. Oftentimes it means at the front you will do mistakes and lose units, and yeah, so that's why it's smart. Maybe he even gets his factory snipe, but other than that, no much early aggression, so just building up. I don't think they're even at 200 pop yet, so usually at 2 minutes you should expect all players to be at 200 pop, but no one really bothered to do that, because they kind of have this friendly agreement that they are not attacking each other, because they all just like to boom. Also, like a fingerprint move of AJIV, he just sneaks villagers every game and builds stuff. Oh, sadly they got found by the explorer, so nice awareness of them. Also the walls around the factory, also something you like to see. I think the walls are here so he can put his factories there. So there's still... so he couldn't put them here, otherwise they might get mortared. So they probably would get put down here. But those walls are also good, like in the event that something gets here, like a villager. You cannot get bases up here, because I think I saw a few games which were decided just by the fact that that a villager sneaked here and built up bases and then streamed units here. So that's... yeah, I mean walls. I think if you have the brain capacity to do walls, it's always a good decision to do walls. Really, even with the most random walls, eventually often just serve some purpose. So that's something great, I think. Yeah, other than that, we just see what this map is about. So we have the aggression already. And personally, I'm not a fan of walling right here, because it often just blocks your own units, so I would rather just wall behind and have racks and towers and stuff similar to those. But you need a wall like here usually. That's definitely good, my opinion. Now the cover and fight start. It's going well for Zivieras already. and that means that they actually can push. So because the bombards are uncontested at the moment, so still not a great fight for them if the bombards are not shooting. Yeah, maybe these walls are. So one thing these walls will do is that if you attack move, your units will occasionally just walk there and siege down this wall, which is not something you want them to do. Oh no. Now those are spotted. Oh yeah, the wall is really tells you everything you need to know. Yeah, so we just thief. Oh, give me a second. Yeah, so sorry, I kind of lost track of my thought. So yeah, so we have this the flank or this running around, also something AJIV just does. I do think getting this trading post and getting like the map here or getting to the other side of the map is actually so hard to do on this map that it's often worth it. If you get it early, you are setting you up in a winning position basically. Because what happens here, you cannot build bases here, and oftentimes you won't build bases here. So if you're fighting here and even if you clean up, then you would have to move here and fight under the bases here. And that often means that you just lose steam and you cannot siege down these bases, so they will just regroup their army or repopulate their army and then clean this up, and then the same story goes for them. So they go over here, win the fight maybe, go here, get cleaned up here, and it's just a fight which can take forever. So on Orinoco I think there are probably games you can play for 12 hours or something and nothing really gets decided. Just for this reason. But if you have bases already, so I think it would be great to wall this off here and commit more to this. Especially this trading post, because with a trading post, with the extra population, you set yourself up to just overpower in the long run. Because I think with 2 Caribbeans, especially if you have France or if France has them, that means that you probably can skip on skirmishes entirely. So it's like 30, I think. Can I see how many? I think it's 15 per trading post. Great, he just delivered it. So I think it's 15 per trading post, and then with the upgrade, your explorer can do another 12 or something. So you have 40, not skirmisher, but units which fill the same purpose as skirmishers. So you don't really need skirmishers anymore, and you can focus all your units or all your population on cannons mainly and on cav like gendarmes or dragoons, and you can do more than you typically would do just because you don't need to make any normal skirmishers. So at least that's my approach to natives. So I would usually get them, and depending on what kind of units they are, I would just not make many of those units anymore. So if I would get archer type units, I would just skip skirmishers and do the archer of the natives basically. And yeah, so that's my idea, and it usually works out in the long run. I think getting cleaned up here, I think I would have probably spent more time or more energy on securing this. I think it's way more important than pushing here. Like getting these walls here up And getting the space up here is, I think, more important than winning this fight here. Like, as long as you don't get him on this side, it doesn't matter too much. In my opinion, that's what my idea is. But I mean, AJIV and Naheulbook have a different opinion, and I think they didn't lose anything yet, or any Orinoco in this tournament yet. So yeah, but let's see why Aztec is so insane in deathmatch on this map. So at 10 minutes, with good booming civilizations, you are typically at your maximum population, which is what you see. So Otto is almost full, so he's at 75. French is at 57, so only 20 more villagers. Same for Ziviera, depending on if you how good or how many villagers you lose. And AJIV is, as Aztecs, you're typically a bit faster, so you're probably at 8 minutes at some, or 6 to 8 minutes, you're at 99 villagers. And those villagers, they gather food at an insane rate. So he will never run out of food, and he will have enough food to just gift to his teammate or to spam like these coyote runners until the end of times. And that's because no civilization has as many food cards as Aztec, so you can really afford to do that. He also has all the wood cards, so and he also has the Aztec mining card. So initially when I played Aztec, I would send this one very early, and my idea was, okay, I want to get coin from mines. But I think the way AJIV is doing it is better. So to just go for, so you're basically never getting coin, and you're just gathering food and wood. And once it runs out, you might switch a bit to coin, but you won't run out because you don't spend much coin. So yeah, because most of the units cost mainly food, and only the food and wood, and only the night units cost coin. And especially in team games, you're not doing many arrow knights, so the only units you're really doing is eagle knights, and they shouldn't die too much because they are like a backline unit in a sense, so you don't cycle through them too much. Maybe you do some of the. Oh, that's a very nice catch. These mortars would actually be really important here to kill this here. So actually they do have some momentum going at the moment, and they seem to be pushing through. In my opinion, I still would. So my game plan for these kinds of maps, which are divided by half, is usually just to get the natives to get more population. And once you have the more population, more units, then you should just overrun the enemy eventually. Also, I mean, I talked a lot about Aztecs, but I think they are the most interesting civilization in this, because the other ones are mainly Europeans, and most people are, I think, most familiar with Europeans. I think people watching the stream are probably familiar with all civilizations anyway, but I think there are a few interesting things for Aztecs to talk about. Another thing which I think is interesting is the aura of the war chief. So typically what you want your war chief to do is just stand back. He can do some. He can chain some units, some eagle knights or whatever. So they're not really good, but there are some units. And are those these? So that's not the main issue, or the main reason why you have him. The main reason why you have him is because the aura makes your units. So if your unit, so if this marquee has the aura and kills this guy, he would get 3 times the experience. So he would get 45 experience from this skill. And that's actually really significant. So you can... With Aztec, that typically means you cycle through all your cards way faster than any other civilization. Of course, it doesn't help if he's dead, so that's something you can improve on. But typically with Aztec, you are quite a bit faster with sending all your cards, and that also means. So your cards typically also mean that it's your economy basically, because you get 1000 coin, and oftentimes that's all the coin economy you will need in the late game. Yeah, so let's just quickly look at resources. So AJIV is doing fine resource-wise. They are also kind of pushing this here. They might get pushed back here a bit as soon as the artillery joins in. They get pushed back a bit. I think they all could use a little bit more natives. I mean, Naheulbook could. I mean, he trains them, so maybe he does that. So typically, I would prefer to just use those guys, and they are most of the times not worth it if you're low on resources, because they die just so fast to skirmishers and cannons, and late game armies tend to have a lot of those, so those would often just be a waste of resources. But the feast warriors are good. Let's quickly cycle through the resources here. They're all looking heavy. Longest Song is a bit low on wood. But I think AJIV and Naheulbook, also resource-wise, are in a better position. And they are also... Oh, did he snipe a factory? Was that a factory? Yes, right? I think it was a factory. I hope that was a factory. It looked like a factory. So I assume it was a factory, because I don't see one anywhere else. Yeah, also Aztec, they can be pretty sneaky and pretty annoying with their run-bys, because those Jaguar Pro Knights can stealth. And they are also decently fast, I think. They're a bit faster than muskets. And oh yeah, that's... So they tend to just sneak through stuff. Now I have some Arrow Knights on AJIV. And they seem to be pushing through here. Yeah, I mean, I think what they should also do is just wall up. I'm kind of surprised by AJIV that he walls so little. Usually he would just build 10,000 walls everywhere. So is that even AJIV? Yeah, of course it's AJIV. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so usually he would just do a billion walls here. So I think you should at least do one here, just so that no run-by can happen. Because the Janissaries with battlefield construction, like even if just one slips through here and makes a few bases here, you are in a world of trouble, so you don't want that, and one wall prevents that. I mean, they kind of have walls, but like still they could walk here and here, so I would rather have them closed off. Yeah, but they're kind of losing their momentum a bit. Mainly the cannons are causing trouble for Naheulbook and AJIV. Some flanks going off here. So yeah, those walls they seem random, but they actually do quite a lot for Zivieras and Longus. So that means that I don't really have to worry about anything going up here. And I mean, I say that a lot, but walls are basically they're basically free. So they are doing so much for basically nothing. This is a great engagement though, with all those coyotes. The Caverns though, the Caverns still manage to snipe a lot of cannons. So maybe I think they can kill all the cannons now. So often what happens if you do so many cannons, you are putting your army at risk to just get cleaned up by a lot of cav, and I think that's what happened here. I mean, all things considered, they were still decently effective at cleaning up the cannons. So quite a lot of cannons died for Book. So Book, I would just Naheulbook. Book. So I think AJIV also calls him that way. It's a bit easier to just call him that. And yeah, so still. Oh yeah, Book is almost out of resources, so that's something. Zivieras also struggles on coin, but his teammate has a lot of coin, so he could technically send him something. AJIV has a lot of food, but he's slowly getting lower on coin and also on wood. Okay. Yeah, I think they should have just gotten out some walls here or some stuff here. So those walls stop getting up here and annoy or force them into these kind of choky positions. Because I think Aztec is also better if you manage to have a good front or a huge concave and big angles, and you're not forced into a tight space. And because that's when usually you don't have room to maneuver your arrow knights, and you don't have room to maneuver your coyotes to snipe cannons and stuff. And that's really not what you want to do, so you want to have just a bigger front usually. That's when they will shine, in my opinion. Yeah, but they seem to get pushed back here. At least for the moment. And that's what I'm talking about, like here, triple XP for Aztec. They should have sent all cards by now. Yeah, maybe they've kind of figured it out, longest longest. And book how to fight this. I mean, there are a lot of skirmishers. I think they might lack a few cannons, like 1 or 2 horse arty here. And they also don't have much anti-cav at the moment. So not too many eagle knights. So yeah, but still going decent. So this fight here, I think they trade a bit better the longest and Zivieras team, but they also, their economy is a bit worse. So that should be okay. Like these covenants of Zivieras, I think it feels like Naheulbook never really gets good trades with his covenants. Like just 3 covenants dead for 4, I think. So 2 covenants dead here and 4 here. So not a good fight here per se. And now the Spahis come in. So that seems to be like a team card. I think it's a decent card on most maps, but on this map it's not particularly good. But I think you have some cards to spare as Ottoman anyway. So maybe building HP would be a card which you could put in. I don't know. Yeah. So I mean, they're pushing back. I'm actually surprised that they managed to push back all these spaces here. I think it's mainly powered by the cannon supremacy of Ziviera, and it's mainly powered by the fact that this Kybernean traits went better. But their numbers are growing thinner, it feels like. So they're susceptible. So they run the risk of getting cleaned up by Cav. And that's what's kind of happening. But they're also reacting and adding goons accordingly. Yeah, but I think... Yeah, I mean it's just how Orinoco goes. You have these long drawn out fights. I just hope my PC can handle it. It's actually my main concern, or if this game is going out of sync again. But so far so good. So I hope I didn't jinx it. Like I'm also expecting, so I'm wondering, or I'm thinking about, or I'm wondering where are the AJIV sneaks? So there's no villager randomly walking here and building up bases, or even here. I think he could walk here actually and build up stuff. So that's what he usually does. It's just trademark stuff of AJIV. They still didn't get up some walls here, so they're very confident in their ability to just hold this choke here forever. I would sleep so much better if they would just build this wall. At least if I'm playing at least one wall, it makes it feel so much safer. Yeah. Oh, are you sure, AJIV? Only 40 to 50 minutes left. Yeah, let's see that. I mean, it's kind of like it's exactly what I told at the start. So they get a good fight, they walk here, then the reinforcements come, kill this army, because usually what happens with an army is that it eventually there are one unit type which dies exceptionally. So for example, all the Millicav dies, and so they are weaker to another unit type, or maybe the Dragoons die, and then they can just be cleaned up by a lot of Cav. And so the reinforcing army typically trades better. And yeah, so, and also they have to walk this distance. So imagine if they take this here, or fight here, the units would have to walk from here to here. And that's just a lot of time, or a lot of walking which has to happen. And the same goes for them, really. So now I mean, I can just check the deck for the moment. Maybe we can compare Book's deck with Zivieras deck. So I think this looks pretty normal. Oftentimes people would put in a 1TC, because French boom tends to be a bit slower than most, and you can improve the boom with 1TC quite significantly. So that's what a lot of people use. And other than that, it looks normal. I think this... a lot of native cards, so he could also use the third native card. but he doesn't want to. I think they do have... Oh no, they don't have the same deck. So no... I think Book has the better late game deck, right? So Skirmisher HP... So there are 2 more upgrade cards for Book. And a few more cards he's probably missing. Because he has 1, 2, 3, 4 more unit cards in H4. So he's missing 4 upgrade cards. Compared to Book. And I think the same goes for Longest Longer. So I think in the really long game, they should have the edge here. The AJIV and Book. And they just need to find a way to break this here. More worlds going up here. Yeah, that's a classic. So if the front line is moving so little that your enemy can put walls on your walls, that's a telling sign. Aztec would be sexy if you could still heal dance revive the Explorer. So you mean that he pops up at the position where he died, or what do you mean? Yeah. I'm still kind of mad about Frosty that he put Orinoco in the map pool. But I think you need to have a bait to get all these GT guys in. So I understand in a way. But yeah, that's how it works. Okay, so apparently if you in the past you could so you could, if you heal your Explorer with the dance, got up at the position. Are you sure? I thought it was always the way that he got up at the plaza. And then you could snipe cannons in that way. I mean, in my opinion, Aztec still has a better way to deal with cannons than Lakota or Inca. Because the Inca Huaracas just have less range, or the same range than heavy horse guns, so they're not even countering them really. So the second factory snipe. One factory snipe was here, right? Oh! Oh no, well that's a pickle. So here was the factory, right? I mean... I said it. I said it at the start, so I hope he's not putting his factory here, because then it can be sniped by mortars, but... Well, that's a pickle. But that you could have seen coming, actually. You probably won't do that mistake again. But that was a good one. Arrow Knights. What, the Arrow Knights sniped it? Okay. Do they have more range? Okay, that's... Arrow Knights from here. Okay, I thought a mortar would pick it up. Arrow Knights are also sexy. I mean, mistakes were made. I mean, we are all... Let's be honest. There are so many mistakes being made all the time. This was just a bigger one. And one you could easily not do, I think. To be honest. Yeah, I know. So I was just commenting on the fact that Zivieras, he's a 3D player mainly, right? So I would expect him to know at least some Orinoco. But there are probably a few players who have more experience than that. Yeah, I like the smack talk going on in the chat, so keep it coming. Yeah, I mean, it's just so sorry that I'm not commenting too much on the fight, but it's just I think it's fun to watch, but it's also not really much you can comment on because it's just it's what you would expect if you put Orinoco in the map pool. So you would have Endless fighting on this river, you would have one army slowly progressing on the other side, and the other reinforcements come in, clean it up, push it back, and so on. And there's not too much, it's more of like a static fighting thing and not too dynamic in a sense. It feels a bit like trench warfare here. I think Book could use a bit more natives. See both factories on wood? Yes, he has. That's what he could do. I mean, practically that the Ziviera and LongD are lower on resources, I think, than Book and AJIV. So they are a lot lower. So they could actually break through here. But what typically happens is that they will eventually just push them back, set some bases up, and then they will regroup and push it back again. So this is really what happens. So yeah, Julian just said, okay, he thinks that Huarakas, he feels that Huarakas are better than Arrow Knights. I just disagree. I just hate Huarakas. They just don't feel good to use. I think against a good player, and like you shouldn't ever be able to kill horse artillery, because you have to move ahead of your army with your Huarakas, and then they take some shots of horse artillery. And yeah, I'm just not a fan of this bad unit. I mean, the Arrow Knights are also bad, let's be honest here, but the Huarakas are still my least favorite units in this game. Yeah, Book, HF also said, okay, Book scores seem a bit high, and of course, Aztec is just feeding France. Aztec eco is just so good that you can. That's something you would expect also. So HF's just feeding his mate, but he has done it in every Orinoco match. I mean, he has so many resources. He's a bit low on coin though, so maybe he's not gathering his coin here. Yeah, so he should probably get on that. He probably won't send this card, at least until all the trees are gone. And I don't think that will happen in this game, to be honest, because then we will reach the 4-hour mark, probably. So Book is full of coin. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's actually smart. So Naheulbook is just 80 villages on coin. And he just gets food, his food economy from AJIV. That's actually a very smart way to do it. Yeah, to be honest, I think that the Inca economy compared to the Aztec economy is quite similar. So with Inca, you don't have as many cards, but what you do have is the houses. You have the dancing chiefs. I mean, okay, they're kind of the same as the warrior knights because they also don't cost any population. But you also have the estates, which produce also coin, and you have the fur trade. So the Inca economy is on a similar level, maybe a bit weaker, but it is definitely not much weaker in my opinion. What do you mean with pop bug situation going on? yeah, so it slowed down a bit, which is good for the players with the worst economy. Because if this army is being cleaned up, then they cannot really reproduce it fast. While if they lose this army, so the other guys, then they can just reproduce it immediately. But the walls make it hard to engage, and also there are 8 cannons popping up, and I think this will be everything which needs to be said about all these pikemen. I don't know, was it a misclick to make those pikemen? It seems kind of random. So in late game, I think the pikemen, the only reason why you would make them is because you can train them fast. Why does he have... Ah, no, because of the big buttons probably. Yeah, big buttons. The overpop. Yeah, okay, so Aztec have the big buttons, which give you units for each minute passed, until minute 30, so it's minute 36. So AJIV probably just popped all his big buttons, and so for a short time he got a bigger army, probably around 200-300 or something. And that's why we also saw the Skull Knights here and the pikemen. Yeah, because normally I wouldn't. So the only reason I do make the spearmen with Aztec is if I only have like a... Oh, that's what I want to see. 1.72. Oh, AJIV, it's actually faster to put your villagers on your farms than to put them on hunts for all the upgrades. Yeah, but usually we wouldn't make the spearman, the Puma spearman, because what did he call these guys? The Jaguar Pro Knights are just better in almost every aspect. Maybe they're a bit slower, but in all other aspects they are better. So typically if you want melee infantry, you wouldn't make those guys. Now they try to get on the other side. I feel like we have been to this situation before, like a base being put up here. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what happened here. The fight is still going on. I mean, I think, in my opinion, they should have put up some bases here earlier, and also some walls to just deny the movement here. Like if he gets out some walls here, even it's just annoying. But AJIV is not himself in this game. It feels like he's not making the 5,000 walls that he's usually making. Yeah. By the way, the villagers also don't move on the farms, so this is the final raid. Should be the final raid. And yeah, he's right. So there's one upgrade on Sabotek. Does Sabotek have a farm upgrade? I thought it was only estates. I thought it was Maya's, because Maya's definitely have a upgrade. Yeah, now more walls get put up here. I think you really should focus. I don't know why you would make these pikemen. Like, just compare these units. I mean, they clean up half a bit faster, but they have like half the HP and less building attack. Are only a little bit faster, so I wouldn't do them if I had a choice. Maybe if I need fast units. And personally, I would also just I'm just getting trading posts up. By the way, why does every trading post now give experience? Bottom of the map. Oh yeah, now. Now there are some walls. But I feel like here should be some walls still. Like I think at some point there could have been some Janissaries just sneaking through here like 10 and just walk here and get some units or get some racks up. Yeah, that could have been something happening. But I mean, the front is going forward. I mean, I think with each time they're pushing here, there will be more walls up. So it will be harder each time. So those Iron Knights probably a misclick, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Floco or Julian just said AJIV started to understand that the time uses to wall is time he can micro in. And I think that's a great point, so that's usually also... I think that's the only reason why you wouldn't build walls. But I feel like there were downtimes where you could have done something. Especially after booming up, you don't have to micro as much anymore. I think putting up walls too early in Deathmatch is a bit more difficult because at the start you just have more stuff to do. You have to boom, you have to set your eco up, you have to micro at the front and stuff. So there's often less time, but right about now there's like a lot of the things you would have to do at the start are just not there anymore, so you would have more time for micro stuff. So that's why I feel like one wall here. But I mean, I said it 3 times. And it's probably not affecting... Book just said he built those walls because nothing was happening. And yeah, I think that's the story of the game sometimes. Orionoko. But it's happening, like it's dynamic again. Like this base up here proves to be a minor annoyance to Longest Dongus. And I think you really don't need to trade well. As if you have an Aztec on the team, you just need to trade at least even or slightly worse. And then you eventually will outlast anyone. And I think it's kind of expected for you to not trade well, just because you don't have any cannons. And this is also... I mean, this happens from time to time when your units just attack the walls. Yeah, this is not where you want your champion coyote runners. What you want them to do. So... I mean, shit happens. Or the game happens, I guess. Oh, maybe I can talk about Aztec a bit more. So one card I actually like with Aztec, so they have this Jaguar card. And then you can train Jaguars in your War Chief. And it might not be much, but they can take quite a bit of damage. And your War Chief is with your army all the time anyway. So why not get a few more units out while you're at it? I mean, you can use those Jaguars, they're not particularly strong, but you can use them to block something. Or you can just send them in, not micro them. And so the animals... Are they really dog shit? I think they are... I don't know, I think they are still okay-ish. I mean, you have endless food anyway. And it's one more reason to actually click on your Explorer, because you want to do, or you maybe want to do those Eagle Knights anyway. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't actually compared them, so I was only just assuming they would be similar to the Tigers, and so I just made them. I don't know, it just feels bad. Oh, it just feels just feels good if you win when your Jaguars are just running into the enemy. Just feels like this salt in the wound put into your enemy. So maybe that's why I like them. Yeah, I don't know if it's better than a woodcut. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. Yeah, but I mean... Not the most important card, but I like to use it. So, this got cleaned up. So I feel like we have been here 10 minutes ago. So... maybe with the next wave of cannons, maybe it will work. Yeah, but really... Yeah, it feels, for me it still feels like that Ziviera and LongD for most of the time can have more cannons up. So I think they are trading quite a bit better than Book and AJIV. But I don't think that they are trading that much better to justify their verse equal. Yeah. So yeah, I still would be a fan to just try to get here and get the natives out, so you have at least something going in your way. But I don't think that all this... So no one is really using the natives anyway. Maybe that would also help them. So I don't know if he got the upgrade for the... like the surprise party or whatever it's called, the upgrade for Caribs, where you can train some guys at your Explorer. It would also be 12 more units you would have at your disposal. I mean, it doesn't sound much, but in the end, it is those. So imagine if you need 10 less of those markers here, then you would have 10 more Jaguar Prowlers just going in here and destroying stuff here. So it's really significant if you keep up with the natives. If you ask me. So, but they are playing this war of attrition. They just want to see who makes more micro mistakes, because eventually you will get tired if you play this for a few hours. I think, and then you make more micro mistakes and stuff, because you usually won't be able to keep your focus up forever. Maybe they are in it for the long one. Again, those Cavalryans, did you see that? So they got 3 shots off, while Book didn't get any shots off. Oh, finally some decent trade. Yeah, some decent trades now, finally. But still no answer for these great bombards. I think he's using... Oh no, he's not. I thought he would use this factory for bombards, but I think he has one infinite bombard. You can definitely use your one factory for your bombards. I think that's a decent decision in deathmatch. Nice auto showcase. Yeah, welcome to the chat, Jäger. Air chair. I don't think that longest plays like Julian. So I don't think Julian did Smurf. And other than that, I don't know who would be Smurfing, and also what's the point in Smurfing? There were no requirements anyway, so anyone could sign up anyway for the tournament. So why would you Smurf? Except for the reason that you would play in 2 teams, but I also don't think that did happen. So I mean, it's a nice joke, but I don't think longest is Smurfing. Maybe he got from nowhere, but I wouldn't even know who he would be. Or maybe it was AJIV. Maybe AJIV was Smurfing. Maybe that would have been funny. If AJIV would be Smurfing. Yeah, I mean, from the skill level, it might have actually been AJIV. So from seeing him play, and from what I see AJIV play, could actually be AJIV. Maybe. So that would be something. Maybe he didn't want to admit that he was enjoying Deathmatch, so that's why he set up a new account. I mean, that's a solid theory, right? I mean, his fans would be furious, the AJIV fans, if he would start playing Deathmatch. So I understand that. Yeah. Imagine losing your face. AJIV. So let's take a look at the resources, back to the game. So again, oh man, at least we have Bombards here now, so we have something fun to watch at, to look at. Yeah, they are blowing away pretty much, and also Shandam's cleaning up. So longest in a decent position resource-wise. I think 10 minutes 10 minutes ago when I checked, the resources were the same around. Zivieras also pretty low, but he was low throughout the game. I mean, AJIV is pretty low, actually, so he's under 10k food, so maybe they are collapsing. I'm just kidding, of course. Why would you use Falconet? What's the point in using a Falconet? I see maybe for Sweden you could maybe justify it, but why would you use Falconet on Ottoman or on Ziviera? On French, I mean, sorry. Ah, okay. I mean, personally, I like to use the organ guns. I mean, they're probably not a competitive unit to use, but they are fun. So, and I think there's so the reason why you could use organ guns is because they just cost 4 population, and it feels like they are mowing down infantry just a bit faster than horse artillery, but they are way more immobile and also more squishy. So yeah, but I feel like if you, for example, you have 2 organ guns, they achieve the same thing as 2 horse artillery, for example, because the infantry of the enemy just can't get close, otherwise it dies. And he needs some coverance, or he needs to commit his cav, and you are only spending 8 population spend instead of 12. So that was my thought process of making organ guns for Portuguese. And that might be the same reason for making Falconets as Sweden. But then again, they're just so much worse than horse artillery. That's oftentimes not worth it, considering. Okay, AJIV can play with himself. That's a good thing to know. Good that you clarified that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just joking about the smurfing stuff. So it's just what it is. Easy playing two PCs at the same time. Hmm. Are they making any progress? I think those walls here are really annoying to deal with. So these walls basically deny any forward bases going up here. And so those are pretty good. But it feels like they are maybe slowly pushing. Finally, maybe. Is he pushing through? Or are they pushing through? Let me check the resources. Dongus is really broke. I think he's going down in population, so actually this might be... And Zivieras also really cannot gift a lot of resources to him. As I said, I think if they would use more natives, this would be easier for Book and AJIV. Yeah, I mean, but as I said it, as always, I say, oh, it might look good, they might clean up, and then like 10 gendarmes come in and just destroy everything. And I think that happened like 5 times already in this game, for each side at least. So... Oh man. So one thing, what I think is not that motivating about Orinoco, it feels like you're not making any progress like ever. So they were fighting forever to get into this position, and now they're getting cleaned up, and they're basically back to square one, or to the start. And oh, finally some more Eagle Knights. Finally some Eagle Knights. So no more cleaning up maybe. Are those Eagle Knights actually... do they trade evenly against Musks? So they should trade evenly against Musk, right? Probably not against skirmishers. But now those walls got up. So I think they need some mortars to get down those walls. And... then maybe... because it's very tight to... so you have no room to maneuver your artillery. Your units get stuck here all the time. So I think these walls need to go down. I also don't know why he dropped the idea of getting stuff up here, by the way. So I think just a few... like if he gets up a... what it's called? The Noble's Hut here. and sends a few Jaguar Pro Knights or Jaguar Prowlers here. Maybe siege down some bases here. That would also be really good. I'm also kind of surprised that Ottoman never attempted to walk by with his Janissaries. It seems like he forgot that he had the battlefield construction card. So yeah, that's something which he also could have done. Longest Long is really out of resources now. Ziviera also, so I think if they get this cleanup and get a few mortars here, then they should be in a GG position. I mean, I think it's also a good decision that AJIV finally is making some of these Eagle Knights. So if they need skirmishers, then I think the French skirmishers are just... It's probably one of the best skirmishers in the game, right? So you want them, so it's at least an above average skirmisher. So you want, if you need skirmisher type units, you want the French skirmishers. And if you need Dragoon type units, you want those Eagle Knights. Just because these Eagle Knights are way more pop efficient, and the skirmishers are more pop efficient than the slingers. So if you do it this way, if you have excess resources, you should trade better in the long run. Probably. And I think we also kind of see it here. Coyotes. I mean, it's a really hard position to push into 8 towers. No more, 11 towers. So... It seems like they all just took a... They all just like Mehmet's style of play, or Galactica style. They saw it and they thought, yeah, it's fun. It's just build 5,000 walls and 15 towers everywhere. And I mean, it's a good way to not die. So finally, I think they're making progress. Now you can clearly see that they're out of resources. So Ziviera can't keep his population up, and he also realizes that. Longest also can't. So that was a game. Just look at the resources. AJIV with 580k resources. It's actually just insane. Yeah, I mean, you cannot really tell because this one is inflated because of the XP boost. But I think that Longest and Ziviera traded way better. This was the moment when he popped the big buttons, by the way. Let's just look at the all resources graph. Yeah, it's just Aztec in a nutshell. So, well played by them. I think 2 factory snipes again for the AJIV team. So that's something to note. I'm just restarting my game. Yeah, if I'm missing some factory snipes, then you just have to tell me. I mean, I think it's kind of funny. Like if someone would make a Smurf account for no other reason than to trigger AJIV, that would kind of be funny to me. So if Doogie is really the Smurf, then hats off to him. Personally, I don't see the point, but if he does that, then he can do that. Okay, so load up to the 4th game. Let's hope that... So this was 1st game, 2nd, 3rd, so this should be the 4th one, hopefully. So we have Anders, and we have AJIV as Inca, and we have Book as Sweden, which is interesting, by the way. I don't think I have much Sweden, but I've seen much Sweden or Inca from either. We also have Longest as British. I think he just likes to play British, so that's not too surprising. Oh no, Zivieras liked to play British, and Longest. So Zivieras is. So I was kind of confused. So Zivieras is playing as Sweden, and Longest is playing as British. So personally, for this tournament, what me and my mate and me would do, my mate and I, we would just go. We would pick civilization which we would stick to, and we wouldn't play the same civilization because I feel like it's just more work and not much gain from it. So yeah, but I think so. Oh, I think a core issue for Sweden is that they are pretty slow. So already as first card or something, we see 2 heavy cannons go out, which is pretty interesting. And it's actually a good decision against Inca, and we can already see why. Because otherwise we wouldn't have anything to deal with the Plumed Spearmen. And the Plumed Spearmen are dead already, and they didn't achieve much. While oftentimes if you don't have these heavy cannons, you could be in a pickle pretty early. Why do you make the Maceman? AJIV, oh, I think I know what you're doing. That's something I wanted to try at least. So that's personally I don't think it's the best. I think this card is just way too expensive. So the idea is you're making a lot of those Macemen. And by the way, I think then keeping alive these guys would have been a good decision. So you're making a lot of these Macemen, and then you're sending this Tupac Rebellion card. I think he saw the Haudenoshane cannon and he thought he wanted to have the same. Yeah, he really needs to get forward because those cannons are just very, very slow. Yeah. He also doesn't have any villages now anymore, by the way. Oh yeah, 55 light cannons. Keep in mind those are not industrial age field cannons. That's a bit of a pickle. Yeah, so maybe it works. I mean, personally, I've tried it a few times, and I think it's, at least in 101, it's... Yeah, it can be a bit difficult to pull off. But I mean, it's very devastating at the start. If those guys would be field cannons, this strat would be a lot stronger, I think. But they are cleaning up at the moment. And... I mean, you're only investing a card into it, right? And you're basically all your starting resources. So it's actually a big investment. But it's not super all in. At least if you keep your TC's working. Sorry, I'm stuttering. So I'm kind of surprised how bad those cannons trade against the guard units, but I think that's the reason. A reason is because they're not guard, and I think that's just an issue because they just die pretty fast to everything, really. I mean, it looks good. It looked good for a moment. Yeah. Is he doing all these blankers? But I don't think he achieved enough to justify that heavy of an investment. At least yet. I think, by the way, that killing the first TC, so killing this one, might have been actually worth it. Because then you can start putting up walls and stuff. Because oftentimes when I push, I run into the limitation that I cannot keep moving forward because of this TC. Yeah, I don't know. I think if you want to do a light cannon push, then you would just play Haudenoshani, and it's just better in every regard because you get these amount of light cannons. You also get out of Haudenoshani, and you have something to support it, and they are actually. Sorry, guys. I'm out of sync again, so I just assumed that AJIV and Book lost. But just to finish my point, so with Haudenoshani you get a similar amount of light cannons, and they are upgraded, and they're a lot more threatening, I think. And so if you want to do that, I think Haudenoshani is just better in almost every way. Except maybe the super late game where the Inca finally are better than again. Yeah, but from my testing, also I tried this a few times and I didn't have the greatest of success with it. And with Haudenoshani, I can put it off a lot easier. And I don't micro much better with Haudenoshani than with Inca. So sorry that I cannot finish this game. We had this problem from the very start that there's just out of sync stuff going on. So I assume that you lost AJIV and Book. And we are going into the last game. I don't know. I also don't know what to do about it because I think it's a problem with the save game, and so I cannot, I cannot restart the game or I cannot do anything about it to make it better. So it's the last game of this tournament. It is Book and AJIV against Longestongus, or Longestongus and Ziviera. Whoever wins this gets $150. Is it 150? I think it's 150, right? $150 for the team, of course. So it's quite a. So you obviously want to win it. There's quite something on the line here. Now we see Longestongus as the Aztec and Zivieras as the Portuguese against Naheulbook on British and AJIV on Ottoman. The map is Deccan. Yeah, so I saw him play, so Longestongus it is, playing Aztec. So he's not quite as boomy as AJIV. AJIV has a lot more boomy style than Longestongus, I think. Oh, I hope, Book, you can defend it. Let's see. So typically what you can do to defend it, oh yeah, he does the right thing. He's getting the Glorious Revolution card. So the charge card, that means he can train, or he gets some units out of his charge. So this should be dealt with pretty soon. He can afford to lose some villagers, he's British, so he should have enough villagers anyway. At least to not die to stuff. I mean, he should use the church card if he's getting it. Does he have... oh yeah, he has the fish boom eco. So that's actually... so I think with... not the fish boom, sorry, the cattle boom. And the cattle boom is actually one of the best. So if you can pull it off, if you get to a point, then those are really strong. So the British have one of the strongest eco in the entire game, but you have to micro for it. So I don't think it's as strong as Aztec. It's a bit weaker. So yeah. No Japan, no India, no Lakota, and also no Hausa. So just the other civilizations. I mean, I attempted to play India, at least. I think India is actually better than I anticipated. But not on Orinoco. I wouldn't play it on Orinoco again. We have some... AJIV feels at home again with his Ottoman. So Otto does have the forward construction stuff. But holy moly, what are these walls again? Oh man. Oh yeah, I mean it makes sense to wall like this. But just a lot of walls up already. I mean those are scouted. And I think those are dealt with. I think Portuguese stuff do have a decent matchup against Ottoman, usually, right? So maybe civilization-wise, I think it's pretty even. So I think Aztec are better than British, but British are decent, just a decent overall civilization. I would personally have sent the factories by now probably, but they are also maybe hesitant to send the factories until they are walled in. Maybe that also makes sense. They don't want their factories to be sniped. Yeah, that's not a great use of his musketeers. So I think if he just moves the cannons here and his infantry here, then those will walk into the grinder here anyway, and those can just shoot here. So that's what would have been the ideal situation. He was probably busy microing somewhere else, so that's maybe what happened. But oh my god, those walls! Like Zivieras really wanted to win this apparently, so he put up walls everywhere. I mean, okay, I understand. Okay, so if you're playing against AJIV as Ottoman, that's exactly what you want to do. But but the mini map, it's 4 minutes in and it's completely walled off everything already. By the way, is the Ranger actually better than the longbow? It's better, right? In all situations. What's wrong with Ottoman British? I think they complement each other decently. So British rely on cannons a lot, Ottoman rely on Janissaries a lot, and you have team upgrade cards for both. So it should be decent, right? So usually the first map, so Jäger chair. Usually, how in this tournament, how it usually went is that you the first is blind pick, so just someone writes a civilization pick to one of the admins, and then the next. Sorry, I'm just going to. And then the next pick would be winner picks first, so loser picks map and winner picks civilization first, so you have the map advantage and the civilization advantage, and that usually should lead to good games. I mean, you still had Haudenoshani, so I think Haudenoshani would have been a great pick if you practice the build order a bit. But no one except me apparently likes to play Haudenoshani. So yeah. Sweden. Yeah, I really don't think he had many civilizations left, that's true, so. I mean, British is decent, and Ottoman is still a top tier pick, I think, so I think it's winnable for, like, it's open civilization wise, it's not a complete disaster for any team. Ziviera getting this side and the trade route is very good for him, by the way. And he basically didn't have to fight for it, except with his villager who builds up walls. Maybe there's some 5 population treasure, but it's probably not worth it to spend time looking for it. Oh yeah, here it is. And also 5 population. It's not too significant. Oh right, I think Dutch is definitely better than British. So I would have personally I would have preferred Dutch. It's just easier to play and better in my opinion than British. Oh no, the flank. That could be huge. But it's also so tight that you can't really do too much. But it's a great engagement, so I think that's a great engagement by them. I think the infantry was a bit behind too far. Other than that, it's a good engagement. Oh yeah, the one mortar. Sniping stuff here. Yeah. So, in my opinion, what you should also do is, like, if he's starting to do walls like this, you also just need to wall the middle map. And that leads to... So then, this one mortar, like if he would have been walled in, it could have caused so much pain. But yeah, so let's see the economy. Longest Dong is also at 99 villagers now. He has a bit more of a balanced approach than AJIV. He also sent this card already, so he's planning to use a lot more coin. He doesn't have as many wood cards in his deck. But I think the most important stuff is similar. So yeah. So that's what's going on here. I think their grouping up is also a good decision. Maybe they lack... Oh, if they can get these outposts up, that would also be great. Those would also be causing so much trouble if he gets them up. But it feels like that British just has some units somewhere. Idle or something. This is, by the way, it's also not a good placement for a factory. Just because it can be sniped so easily. Yeah, he just also doesn't like to wall this stuff here. Yeah, the thing to do against Aztec, in my opinion, is just to get a lot of artillery. So horse artillery, you usually don't need cavalryns against Aztecs. So if you're playing only against Aztecs, you don't need any cavalryns. And the horse artillery basically just beats up everything. And of course, if his teammates if his teammate comes in with cavalryns, then you might be in trouble a bit. But I think the infantry fight, you can't or you don't usually win. Feels like infantry from Aztec is pretty cost efficient and pretty strong. Maybe. Yeah, Book just said that British don't really have an answer to Aztec Mace Eagles, and I mean we kind of see that here. Yeah, I think those Eagle Runners seem to just wreck Musketeers, so you cannot really make Musketeers, or they don't do much as British. Maybe once you reach the stage where you can spam rockets, that might be good. Yeah, maybe more cannons would have helped, but it's also hard to pull off. And yeah, Book also said that one of them is also always getting doubled, and I think that's also true. So he's pushing here, and the Aztec army is quite mobile because they don't have any artillery, and then he can just turn around and go here and double AJIV. So that sucks. By the way, does Ziviera have... He also doesn't have the mortar range card in. Yeah, I mean, maybe you could... So one thing which is also good against these infantry masters is just to make a lot of towers and push with your towers. Because then he can't really push into them. Because they take a lot of damage from towers. So maybe just a few towers here. Would mean that he cannot... So he cannot push ever into those towers. And you would always have something to fall back on. Yeah, but it just feels like that Aztec has more army. I don't know, is there some idle units for British? The army from British just looks so small compared to the other army. Oh yeah, now they are starting getting bases up here. So basically this map control which you got for free at the start is now being used to push through here. I don't think you probably shouldn't be able to ever push through this choke. But maybe if you're not paying attention. Finally the towers come. I think these towers should have been put up way earlier. Yeah, so a Thief just said that maybe he shouldn't have converted his longbows to rangers. That's an interesting thing. So longbows generally are better if you're fighting against skirmishers. But rangers are I think have higher multipliers against goons. And also archers are better against basically everything which doesn't have multipliers because they have higher base DPS in a way, so they also do more damage against coyotes, I think. And they of course have more range. So you can camp better. Yeah, so maybe that would have been something to keep longbows. But I don't know. I don't know if it makes a huge difference. It feels like if you're forced to make longbows as Britain, you're oftentimes in a bad spot anyway. Yeah, now the not having boards here really hurts. I keep in mind that they are getting doubled, or he's getting doubled. Naheulbook it is. Or book that is. So yeah, in the meantime, the Ottoman player can clean up these bases here, and that could be good for him. But at the same time, like, you never want to fight in your economy. Naheulbook also has 20 idle villagers, so that's also not good. And he really needs some cav for these cazadores. I know, finally. He should be able to clean them up finally. And they managed to kill a few bases here. All things considered, I think it was still good for Zivieras and LongD. Again, I think that LongD, now with the Aztecs, he has endless amounts of resources he can spend. And the only thing which really stops Aztecs is cannons. It feels like. So yeah, finally we have some attacks going on this side. I'm still like, 2 players decided against a longer range of mortars. This is one of the highest value cards I would put for Portuguese. So I'm really surprised about that, to be honest. And by the way, Zivieras Advanced Arsenal does do absolutely nothing. Because you already have the upgrades. So yeah, that card is definitely a waste. I mean, can they push in here? I mean, the Coyotes and the Jaguar Crown Knights are decent units. So but Janissaries and Abugan should just eat him up. But he's spending a lot of population to do it. So that means that on this side, they can start push again. And because AJIV just doesn't have any presence in mid anymore. And also these walls, like, these walls feel like they decide the whole game. Because all of the mid plateau is basically not approachable. And that gives them all the natives. So I think he could take those natives away. Also. And that means, yeah, I mean, maybe AJIV should have put up some bases here so they could push together like they do. Maybe that's also something they could do. But at least they defended here. So that's nice. But it feels like that Britain is again fighting in his economy. Or he's forced to fight in his economy again. Do these rangers actually cost coin or also wood? Do you know that? Yeah, now they want a factory. I think they are getting a factory snipe here. I think we can count it as snipe. I mean, technically they are also pushing, but it's going straight through to the factory. So I think that's a snipe, but you can decide, please. 60 food and 60 coin is quite Hmm. It's an expensive skirmisher. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried him. I cannot say anything about him, to be honest. I like the experience with them. Yeah. Okay, so still some fights going on here. So they're finally starting to push forward. Aztecs building up forward bases here. 2 mortars are still idle here. They could be used maybe here to deny this from going up. Is he seeing this? Yes. But all in all, it looks pretty dire. He lost a factory. He lost, or he doesn't have, or he has 20 villages less, which is something you can do with Britain at some point, but I don't think he's at that point yet. What kind of unit is that? Oh, that's probably the unit in the Sufi Mosque, right? Why can I see what you can train here, but not here? Hmm. Okay, Quisilbash. Good against infantry. Oh man, I hate what this counter system has become. Why is this a ranged cavalry which is good against infantry? Doesn't make any sense. I mean, is it good against? I don't know. It's just a weird unit. I don't know. Some raids going on here. Yeah, and they're finally deciding to surrender. Yeah, personally I would have preferred Dutch. I think Dutch has a better matchup against Aztec as well. I think their more population really helps them, and their weaker economy kicks in way later than the British. So until now, I think you would have more resources with Dutch than with British. Yeah, so good game. Well played to all the guys involved. Especially GG well played to the winners. So that would be Longest and AJIV. Congratulations on the first place. You're getting my crown. I think some very high level gameplay. So I think I've never, so it should have, so especially this series was the highest level of deathmatch I have casted probably. So even though I complain, like there are some mistakes where I would do differently, or where I would say, okay, it's clearly not ideal. It is on a very high level, I think. Past the build orders at least. So the build orders are sometimes still wonky or all involved. But other than that, so we have solid fighting, you have good grouping up. People know when to push and when to go back. So that's also very high level. Also this walling up of the entire map. I mean, I hate it, but I think it's the most effective way to play. So it's good, I guess. People have good booms, people have good control and decent unit compositions. So I think it was a very, at least until or in the later stages, the gameplay was very high. So I'm very happy that it went that way. So congratulations to all, congratulations to the first place, to the second place, and especially to the third place, because I'm third place. And I think we are doing another tournament eventually. Maybe 101, maybe team games. I think team games are more fun, but it's a lot harder to schedule and stuff, and a lot more pain to organize. 101 is just easier in a way, but also not as fun, I think. So there will be more tournaments in the future. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for playing. Congratulations to the winners. And see you guys around. Yeah, Deathmatch 4 versus 4 tournament. I don't think that's ever going to happen because the performance just gets worse. Wait, what did they win?